Picture this, a high school study hall. After the bell, the rush of freedom, everyone gone, except you. The fluorescent lights hum, casting a sterile, cold glow on the empty desks. Each one a silent sentinel of the day's departed energy. The air is thick with the ghosts of unfinished homework and whispered gossip. You try to focus on your textbook, but the silence is unnerving. It presses in, a suffocating blanket of quiet that seems to amplify every rustle, every creak of the floorboards. You tell yourself it's just the old building settling, but deep down a primal fear whispers, you aren't alone. A tap, faint, metallic, from somewhere in the room. You look up, heart pounding. Was it real or just the silence playing tricks? You try to dismiss it, return to your studies, but your eyes dart nervously around the room, scanning the shadows, searching for the source. Then it comes again. A scraping sound, slow and deliberate, like fingernails dragging across a chalkboard. It seems to be coming from the back of the room, near the dusty shelves stacked with textbooks. You're frozen, paralyzed by fear. Your mind races, trying to rationalize the impossible. Is someone there, or is it something else? You gather your courage, force yourself to investigate. Slowly, I rise from my desk, each step echoing in the oppressive silence. You round the aisle of desks, your eyes glued to the back of the room. The scraping sound has stopped, but the air feels heavy, charged with an unseen energy. And then you see it, a flicker of movement in the shadows, a shape, tall and undefined, lurking near the bookshelves. My breath catches in my throat. Your mind screams at you to run, but your feet are rooted to the spot. I'm trapped in a nightmare, and the nightmare is watching me. Adrenaline surges through you, snapping you out of your trance. The instinct to survive takes over. You spin on your heel, racing back towards the classroom door, your heart pounding against your ribs. Behind me, the scraping sound returns, louder this time, closer. It's as if whatever lurks in the shadows is toying with you, herding you towards your doom. I don't dare look back. You can feel its presence, cold and menacing, closing in on you. You reach the classroom door, fumble with the handle. It won't budge. It's locked. Panic threatens to overwhelm you, but you can't give in. I throw my weight against the door, again and again, until the lock finally gives way. You stumble out into the hallway, slamming the door shut behind you. I lean against the wall, gasping for breath, my body trembling uncontrollably. The sound of your own ragged breathing is the only sound in the hallway. But I know, deep down, that whatever lurks in the shadows of that classroom is still out there. The shadows are almost alive, aren't they? It feels like they're watching us, waiting. Narrator, libraries, sanctuaries of knowledge, havens of quiet contemplation. But after hours, they transform. The silence becomes heavy, pregnant with secrets whispered from the pages of forgotten books. Tonight, we find ourselves in one such library. The towering bookshelves cast long, eerie shadows across the floor. The only light emanates from a lone desk lamp, casting a feeble glow on a scattering of open books. The air is thick with the scent of aging paper and leather, a musty aroma that speaks of countless stories, read and untold. It's a comforting smell, yet there's an underlying current of something else, an unsettling chill that raises goosebumps on your arms. Because tonight, the library isn't as empty as it seems. You walk deeper into the library, your footsteps echoing softly on the polished wooden floor. The silence is almost absolute, broken only by the faint hum of the building's electrical system. You pause beside a shelf, your fingers trailing along the spines of the books. Each one represents a world unto itself, a gateway to another time and place. But tonight, they seem to hold a darker kind of magic. Did you hear that? And then, you hear it. A whisper, faint and ethereal, coming from the stacks behind you. It's a sound that sends a shiver down your spine, a sound that seems to slither through the air like a phantom breeze. You whirl around, your heart pounding in your chest. But you see nothing. The shelves stretch out before you, a labyrinth of shadows and silence. You tell yourself it was your imagination, a trick of the mind playing on your fears. But deep down, you know better. You resume your exploration, but your senses are on high alert. You listen intently for any sound, any sign of movement in the oppressive stillness. Suddenly, a loud thump echoes through the library. You spin around just in time to see a book tumble from its shelf, landing with a heavy thud on the floor. You stare at the fallen book, your mind racing. There's no logical explanation, no draft, no vibration, nothing that could have caused it to fall. S2, what was that? Fear tightens its grip on your throat. You're no longer alone in the library. You can feel it now, a cold, unseen presence watching you from the shadows. You back away slowly, your gaze darting nervously around the room. The air seems to crackle with an unseen energy, a palpable sense of dread that sends shivers down your spine. And then, you see it, a shape, indistinct and fleeting, moving between the bookshelves. It's gone as quickly as it appeared, but you know what you saw. The library is haunted. You're frozen in place, paralyzed by fear. Your mind screams at you to run, but your legs feel like lead. The silence is shattered by another sound. This time it's a soft, mournful sigh emanating from the heart of the library. It's a sound filled with sorrow, with longing, with an unspeakable sadness. You realize the truth in that moment. You're not in danger, not in the traditional sense. This presence, this ghostly entity, it means you no harm. It's trapped, just as you are, bound to this place by some unseen force. And as you stand there in the heart of the haunted library, you can't help but feel a strange sense of kinship with the lonely spirit that surrounds you. It was the first day of school, and senior year was already suffocating Jessica. Between the college applications and the pressure, I just felt numb. Then she stumbled upon it, a peculiar box tucked away in a dusty corner of her locker. It was an ornate wooden box, etched with strange symbols, humming with an energy. Something drew her in, a strange pull she couldn't resist. Inside, on a bed of faded velvet, lay a silver ring with an unknown inscription. Against her better judgment, Jessica slipped the ring onto her finger. A jolt surged through her, leaving a tingling sensation. The air around her shimmered, and she felt detached. The school hallways seemed sharper, more defined. I noticed things I hadn't before, the flickering lights, the floor's tremors. She could hear them, the thoughts of her classmates. Jessica recoiled, overwhelmed by the intrusion. What had I gotten myself into? This wasn't the escape I had craved. She had to get rid of the ring, but it clung to her finger. Days turned into a blurry torment. The constant barrage of thoughts was driving Jessica to the brink. She couldn't focus, couldn't sleep. The ring had become a curse, a burden she desperately wanted to shed. One night, desperate for answers, Jessica found herself drawn to the school library. I felt an inexplicable pull toward the history section, my hands instinctively reaching for a dusty, leather-bound volume tucked away on the highest shelf. As she opened the book, a faded photograph slipped out, fluttering to the floor. It depicted a group of students from decades past, their faces frozen in time. And there in the center was a young woman with piercing eyes and a familiar silver ring on her finger. The inscription on the ring. Jessica finally recognized the language. Latin, Audi et vitae, hear and see. The words echoed in her mind, sending shivers down her spine. This ring wasn't just an object, it was a conduit, a window into the past. Driven by an insatiable curiosity and a growing sense of dread, Jessica sought out the school janitor, Mr. Henderson. He was a solitary figure, shrouded in an air of melancholy. Rumors swirled around him, whispers of a tragic past, a story that no one dared to speak aloud. Jessica found him in the dimly lit boiler room, the air thick with the smell of dust and something else, something akin to ozone. He listened intently as Jessica recounted her experience, his gaze never leaving hers. When I finished, a weary sigh escaped his lips. That ring, he said, his voice raspy with age, it belonged to my sister Eleanor. She was brilliant, full of life, but she was also reckless, driven by a thirst for knowledge that ultimately consumed her. He explained that Eleanor had discovered the ring hidden within the school's walls, just as Jessica had. She too had been seduced by its power, drawn to its ability to unlock the secrets of the past. But the past, Mr. Henderson warned, is a dangerous place. Some things are best left undisturbed. Eleanor became obsessed, spending every waking moment unraveling the ring's mysteries. She uncovered a hidden room where a secret society practiced dark rituals. Eleanor unwittingly awakened something sinister, a malevolent entity. One day, Eleanor vanished without a trace. A cold dread gripped Jessica's heart. She realized that she was in terrible danger, caught in the same web that had ensnared Eleanor. The ring was more than just a conduit. It was a trap, a way for the entity to lure unsuspecting victims into its grasp. Mr. Henderson pleaded with Jessica to destroy the ring, to break the cycle before it was too late. He knew that the entity was growing stronger, feeding on Jessica's fear and confusion. He couldn't let another innocent soul be lost to its darkness. But the ring wouldn't budge. It seemed to mock her efforts, its grip tightening with every desperate attempt to pry it loose. The inscription on the ring seemed to burn into her skin, a constant reminder of its hold on her. Jessica was trapped, bound to the ring and the terrifying fate that awaited her. The school, once a place of learning and laughter, had transformed into a prison of shadows and whispers, and she was not alone. As days turned into nights, Jessica felt the entity's presence growing stronger, its tendrils reaching out from the shadows, twisting her perceptions and playing tricks on her mind. She saw fleeting glimpses of Eleanor, her eyes filled with a haunting despair. The school itself seemed to warp and shift around her, its hallways stretching into impossible lengths, its classrooms transforming into eerie reflections of the past. The line between reality and nightmare blurred, leaving Jessica teetering on the precipice of madness. She knew that she couldn't outrun the entity, couldn't hide from its all-seeing gaze. Her only hope was to confront it, to face the darkness that lurked within the school's heart. But how could she fight something she couldn't even comprehend? Gathering what little courage she had left, Jessica decided to return to the hidden room Eleanor had discovered. Perhaps there, amidst the remnants of the secret society's rituals, she could find a way to break the ring's curse and free herself from its grasp. Following the clues Eleanor had left behind, Jessica navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the school, her heart pounding. Each creaking floorboard, each flickering light sent shivers down her spine. Finally, I found it. A small, unassuming door concealed behind a dusty tapestry. The air around the door was heavy with a sense of foreboding. Steeling her nerves, Jessica pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room was dimly lit, its walls lined with shelves stacked high with ancient tomes. In the center stood a stone altar, etched with the same symbols that adorned the ring. The whisper seemed to emanate from the ring itself, urging Jessica to listen. It spoke of a ritual to sever the connection between the ring and the entity. But the ritual was dangerous, fraught with peril. Jessica hesitated, torn between freedom and the terrible price. With trembling hands, Jessica placed the ring upon the altar. The whispers intensified, swirling around her. The sacrifice wasn't a life, it was a connection. A blinding flash of light erupted from the ring, filling the room with an otherworldly glow. I shielded my eyes, my ears ringing from the intensity of the blast. When she dared to look again, the ring was gone, vanished without a trace. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a sense of calm she hadn't felt since finding the ring. The whispers faded into silence, the entity's presence vanishing with them. Jessica was free. As I left the hidden room, the school seemed to sigh, its walls no longer holding their breath in fear. The shadows receded, and the air felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from its very foundation. Emerging from the school into the warm embrace of dawn, Jessica took a deep breath, the crisp morning air filling her lungs with the sweet taste of freedom. But the memory of the ring, of the chilling echoes of the past, lingered in her mind. A stark reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some secrets best left buried. And so, as you walk the halls of your own high schools, remember that within these seemingly ordinary walls, stories whisper and shadows dance. Stories of laughter and heartbreak, of triumph and tragedy, of the living and the lost. If you listen closely, you might just hear them too, the chilling echoes of high school horrors. Don't forget to like, Subscribe and share your own spooky experiences in the comments below. Because in the world of high school horrors, every story counts, and some stories never truly die.